Part 1, Question 3, Article 8, whether God enters into composition with other things. Thomas has stressed over and over again the utter simplicity of God. Absolutely pure and simple. Great. I'm glad about this. This is one thing we can be clear on. But it has a huge problem. The old problem. How can a holy God come and stay into contact with sinful man? Or, reframed slightly, how can an utterly simple, pure act, uncaused cause God touch a composite, a changing, a contingent creature like man? One option would be that God touches us directly, changing us to become part of himself. But Dionysius says there can be no touching him, nor any other union with him by mingling part with part. That's the problem. How to achieve some type of union without, quote, mingling part with part. If you're baking pancakes, you can take the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients and then mingle part with part. But that's not how salvation works. Wait a minute, though. Doesn't Dionysius also say, quote, the being of all things is that which is above being, the Godhead, and the being enters into composition with the thing. Isn't being and thing united in something that is? Well, that's an objection. Number 2 is God is pure form. We are matter. God unites with us as a form is stamped into clay. Sounds biblical there. Or we can look at it from the other extreme, not the extreme of the human soul, but the extreme of prime matter. Prime matter, the basic undifferentiated stuff from which all matter is built and which all other matter is built, is also purely simple. And God is purely simple. So isn't prime matter the same thing as God? In response, Thomas says, quote, on this point there have been 3 errors. Some have affirmed that God is the world soul. Others have said that God is the formal principle of all things. The third error is to call God primary matter. All 3 are errors because God is, and we have said this again and again, the first efficient cause of all things. Again, if you say that God is primary matter, that sounds like pantheism to me. Saying that God is the world soul, that could be called panentheism, which is very close to calling God the formal principle, not the efficient cause of all things. If God is the material cause, then that would be pantheism, and we could say that union with God is our final end. More on that in a later article. Reply to objection 1. The efficient cause is the stamping onto the clay. The efficient cause of the existing thing is not the essence of its existence. Objects like us contingent people, we exist in a way totally different than the way God, whose essence is existence, exists. Reply to objection 2. The Word, that is the divine Logos, God the Son, is an exemplar form, but not a form that is part of a compound. This sounds like we're getting close here to the pre-existence of Jesus Christ, which is a dogma of the faith, of course. Reply to objection 3. The final. It sounds so silly. How can God, the highest thing, be united with prime matter, the lowest thing? How could they be the same? Errors seem to unite at their extremes. But how do we disprove this? Well, Thomas solves it by looking at a new category, that of the diverse. Differences are in parts or degrees. The saint uses the example of horses and people. They are different, of course, but we are both animals. Horses and people are both animals. Diverse things, quoting Aristotle, means absolutely distinct. And with this move, St. Thomas achieves the complete separation of God from the world. Again, not just a different sort of thing in the universe, but God transcending outside of any genera, even the genus of being. Sanctification, therefore, means changing us somehow to make us in union with God, but it cannot mean becoming God the way God is God, or realizing that we are part of God already to begin with, and we've just forgotten our true divine status to begin with. That's pantheism. No, there is a way that grace acts on the human soul, and explaining that will be the task for the second half of the Summa. Apparently, though, it is not as simple as filling up the gas tank with gasoline, because God does not enter into composition with other things. Even if it is also true that what Jesus is by nature, he transforms us into by his grace. Adopted sons of the Father.